Ebony, that's great. And there we go.
Whether it's members of the legislature, the governor, the attorney general, this idea that they're going to really get hit electorally if they don't support the death penalty is just wrong. And so as we're conveying this to them, and as you all are talking to your representatives and senators in the legislature, that's the message they need to hear.
Today, having a prayer vigil to stand against the 25 men that are scheduled to be executed in the state of Oklahoma, starting with Mr. James Coddington.
And we're now going to bring a petition signed by over 6,000 people in the last few days to the governor, asking him to reconsider. We have until 10 a.m. for the governor's heart to change.
Tomorrow, the state of Oklahoma is choosing vengeance over mercy. We need to not continue to invest our resources in getting to the execution chamber for these 25 people. We need to spend money on things that will reduce the likelihood that people in the future will be capital murderers.
We're here because we're very disturbed by the fact that our state is about to execute 25 people. In our opinion, that is state-sanctioned killing, which is against everything the governor has purported to stand for in the grounds of his faith. Because of that, we want to make sure he receives this petition, which is signed by over 6,000 people just in the last few days.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
And good evening, and welcome to the new year. Welcome to Death Penalty Actions, the forecast. This is our monthly, usually first Sunday of the month, review of the executions that are scheduled in the coming month or a little bit more than a month, as we're going to look at tonight. Thanks everybody for being with us tonight. I'm Abe Bonowitz, Executive Director of Death Penalty Action, and we've got a number of guests tonight and a number of maybe guests tonight. It's kind of hard to organize over the holidays, but we do have some compelling things for you to hear about today. I want to start by just saying that everybody is speaking for their own organizations or themselves, unless they are clearly a staff or board member of Death Penalty Action. And also, this is a safe space for people who are opposed to the death penalty, which means that if there's any shenanigans in the chat or in the comments on the social media streams, there will be no warning. We'll just be dismissing and deleting and that sort of thing. So we have that. I want to invite you, if you're watching either on one of the social media streams or in the Zoom audience especially, feel free to introduce yourself and where you're watching from. We're going to do our best to monitor and take questions, and please use either the Q&A, which will be easier for us to track, or you can also feel free to use the chat and we'll try to catch them. But if you use the Q&A, it'll be a little bit better for that. So as we normally do, what we normally do, of course, is take the with this program is go in order of the scheduled executions. But in particular, because it's coming up, the first thing that's coming up is the clemency hearing for Kendrick Simpson on January 14th. I want to start with that. So we were hoping to have some guests here from that are working on the campaign. We do have Ebony Gillespie is here. Ebony, do you want to turn your camera on? Well, your camera is on. Let me have you join us. And actually, let's see what happens if you turn your camera sideways. Can you do that? Oh, it doesn't change. Okay, go back to vertical and then hold it up a little bit so that it's closer to there. Perfect. And welcome, Ebony. Do you want to? So Ebony is she's a regular on in our Zoom audience, and every once in a while is with us on the stage, so to speak. Ebony, welcome. We're always grateful for your presence. Ebony is a leading activist on this issue in Oklahoma City and Oklahoma. And Ebony, you've been engaging with the folks that are working on the Kendrick Simpson case. Do you want to share what you have? And while you're doing that, we'll make sure to put the links into the chat.
Yes, I don't really just have a lot of detailed things. I know that tomorrow there will be a letter writing again at one of the coffee houses that has been actively allowing us to have different events, like did a lot of different things for Command Wood there. So there will be a letter writing thing event. I believe it's from 4 to 6 for the pardon and parole board for the clemency. So people writing so they will deliver it to the clemency board because the clemency hearing is coming up on the 14th of January at 9 a.m. And then I know there will on the 6th. So on Tuesday there is a there are like at least 2 senators that are going to be joining to Mr. Simpson's lawyers at the Capitol to also make a plea for clemency. So they are scheduled to have a call it sorry.
That's all right, Ebony.
It's
You know what? Our
it's a
friends
meeting.
from
I'm at a loss for words. I'm sorry.
it's all right.
They're scheduled to have the press conference. That's the word I can't think
Yes.
of. A press conference at the Capitol. I believe Senator Nikki Nice and Senator Mary Boren, and I don't know who else might be joining them, but also with some of the lawyers to make a plea for Mr. Simpson.
That's great. I see our friends from Humanizing Death Row are here, so let's bring them onto the stage as well. Welcome, and I'm sorry I don't have your names, but if you could introduce yourselves. My name is Abe, and Ebony is here. I think you may have met her. And welcome. We're glad you're with us.
Yeah.
Let's see, my friend. I'm not hearing you.
Can you hear us now?
Yes, there we are.
That's
All right. I am Remy Fry, and I'm the founder of HDR, and this is my assistant, Brianna Holloway.
Great. HDR, Humanizing Death Row. I've only recently learned about you. Could you just share with our folks about your organization, and we'll put the link into the chat here so people can find your webpage and all that. But please go ahead and introduce yourselves and Humanizing Death Row. You've been around for a couple of years now.
Yes, I've been an advocate now for 17 years, and I started Humanizing Death Row 2 years ago, well, almost 2 years. The co-founder is Christopher Love, who is housed on Texas Death Row. He came up with the name, and we went along with it. Humanizing Death Row is all about humanity. That's why we started calling it Humanizing Death Row. Where the prison system has dehumanized them, we're trying to humanize them. So we're all about, just giving them support in any way that we can, mentally, emotionally, financially. We support the families in any way that we can. We just do our best to advocate against the death penalty.
Well, that's great. We're glad to be with you. And your sister, what do you want to introduce yourself?
So, I'm shy. Sorry. My name is Brianna. All of the guys and everybody call me BB. So I serve as the social media and communications manager for Humanizing Death Row. So I do a lot of outreach, stuff like that. I set up interviews like with different people, different organizations, collaborations, as well as manage the Facebook, Instagram, all of the social medias and stuff. I'm young, I'm 26 years old. And I just started getting into the advocacy work with Remy. She's a close friend of mine. So I'm new to the advocacy game, but I am not new, I guess, to standing for what is right and for acknowledging that people should not be executed for their crimes, despite what those crimes might be. So I guess a little bit more about humanizing death row. We have a website, we have a podcast, we are available on YouTube, Spotify, all of those fun things. So y'all can always check us out at 1 Minute Left on Spotify if y'all want to listen to our podcast. We just did an episode about Kendrick, I think like maybe a couple days ago. And we have an interview with his significant other coming up, I believe on Tuesday. So we have that coming up. Kendrick personally reached out to us on Securus to ask for our support. We really kind of got on, I guess, the advocacy map by our campaign with the Tremaine Wood Foundation. So we were on the news, we spoke on Tremaine's behalf, and I believe, Remy, you wrote a letter for Tremaine's parole board meeting, I believe. So naturally, Kendrick reached out to us and asked us to help advocate for him. So we've been following the advocacy packet with the details that they've given us and things of that nature. We've been talking about him on our podcast. We have also made some videos that we've addressed to the governor of Oklahoma, to Kevin Stitt personally himself. They're like short little 60-second videos that kind of explain like why he shouldn't be executed. And thank you, Ebony. Why
and the 2 packet is pinned at the top of Humanizing Death Row.
I just put a direct link to it.
Okay.
Thank you so much. So everything for Kendrick is available on our website, on our Facebook and stuff like that. His tool packet, there's also a video, like a 15-minute video, basically explaining like mitigating factors for his case and things of that nature. It's a very good video. I suggest everybody watch it. It's very good.
Oh, we will. So everybody's got the link now. So can you summarize the main arguments sort of being made for that we're all, why we're advocating for Kendrick to not be executed and to get clemency?
There are so many, 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 many things. So some of the main reasons why we believe that Kendrick should not be executed are because executions are wrong. For one, and there were a lot of discrepancies in his case, like surrounding the lack of information to the jury about mitigating factors of his personal life. The jury was under the impression that he was a completely normal child with no issues, no adverse events happening to him. However, with the video that was put out and the information that we were given about Kendrick, he had actually a very adverse life. He is a refugee from Hurricane Katrina from Louisiana, right? From Louisiana. He was stranded on the I-10 bridge for, I believe,
10 days.
10 days, like a week and 10 days. He also was a victim of sexual assault, and he was a victim of gun violence as well. He was in a coma. So he had a lot of just predisposed mental health conditions and things of that nature. He was diagnosed with PTSD, and those diagnoses and those factors in his life were not mentioned to the jury. So they were basically under the impression that he was like a normal person. Other than that, he is a rehabilitated person. I believe he was one of the first people on Oklahoma's death row to get their GED, I believe. So he got recommendations for that. He's also released some books and stuff like that about his journey on death row and his journey growing up and things of that nature. He's an established writer, esteemed writer. And I believe he has a book on sale. I don't know how you go about buying it. I think it might be in a toolkit packet, but he does have a book. He's also very active in his children's lives. His children both have made testimonies on his behalf, basically saying that he's supportive and he's there and he's present and he is just an active father in their lives despite, you know, adverse situations and things of that nature. His friends also speak very highly of him. There are just a lot of people that are just in support of Kendrick. His significant other is very supportive of him as well. And she even agreed to do the podcast with us because she knew that it was important, even though she's like really not a social media type of person, but she wanted to step in because she knew that she wanted to advocate for Kendrick as best as possible.
That's terrific.
Yeah, so a lot of things about Kendrick that we didn't previously know that we learned going through the journey. So very interesting for sure.
Let me share quickly this is the Kendrick Simpson Advocacy Toolkit. And I want to also just applaud Carly from the ACLU of Oklahoma has been doing a lot of organizing around this. You can see there's links to various different things, and in particular, the calls to action, as you know, from also the Death Penalty Action petition. If you get to the front page of Death Penalty Action, this is where you'd find the petition for Kendrick, and we link straight over um, to this. Once you sign a petition, you get a link to the toolkit, and again, we're looking for people to then create their own letters to the Pardon and Parole Board. That hearing is on January 14th, which means you want to get your letters in the mail, in the postal mail this week. And there's plenty of time to do that. And it doesn't have to be a huge thing. It's simply, that they're getting a piece of mail in the postal mail, which of course is and you can see all the details and all the things that are here that are available. So whoever put this together, kudos to those people. And, it's a powerful thing. But, we have to acknowledge, of course, that Kendrick is there for a very serious crime, and I believe he takes responsibility and expresses remorse for that. But really, this is one of the challenges that we have, my friends. We all know this, especially in Oklahoma. What the state tries to do is just put somebody on trial again for what they did that got them on death row or got them convicted if they may have not done it, which is the case in some cases. And it's all about what they did and why they're there, and not so much about who they are today and whether or not they're worthy of mercy. And that's the whole point of what clemency means, is mercy, right? So the campaign here, which you all are helping to lead, is about putting Kendrick's face in front of the Pardon and Parole Board in Oklahoma to say this person is worthy, he has support, he has community, he has family, and we don't need to kill him to hold him accountable or to be safe. I don't think he's a threat at all, right? That's the biggest challenge that we have, is people don't want to look past what got a person sent to death row in the first place. So I applaud you. I want to ask if there's any questions. So Nicole is asking if they're killing him because he is black. And I don't know what the racial implications are, if any, in this particular case. But other than, obviously, if you are a black person, I think the victims in this case are also African American. Is that true? Do we know? Yes. So, it's one
And
of those
they,
cases.
I'm so sorry. And according to the testimony statements, they were also in gangs, I guess. So
Yeah.
that kind of,
If I understand correctly, the background is simply there was a tussle in a bar that got taken to the streets. And,
yes. Essentially, Kendrick was assaulted and it kind of threw him into fight or flight. And they went to a 7-Eleven completely unrelated after he had been assaulted. They went to the gas station, and the people that he had gotten into the altercation with ended up at the 7-Eleven, like just coincidentally. And according to, I believe it was a psychologist that spoke on PTSD in that video for Kendrick, but she said that He what happened was that he kind of was taken back to when he was in that drive-by shooting, and he truly believed that he was being targeted and followed by the people that had arrived at the gas station. So the severity of his PTSD was not necessarily disclosed at all. So that's kind of like a mitigating factor in itself.
Got it. Wow. I'm going to share my screen again. This is the email I have from Carly at the ACLU talking about some of the upcoming activities in Oklahoma City. So you can see that there's a letter writing at Second Story Books in Oklahoma City. That's tomorrow night. They did an event, I think it was last night or on the 2nd. And which I was really impressed that anybody was trying to pull something off on the 2nd.
Yeah.
And but they did it, and then at a rally of sorts at on January 10th, and then the clemency hearing on the 14th. And of course, what we all know is that if there is not a recommendation for clemency, then the governor's hands are tied. That doesn't mean that we stop. The governor appoints those people on the parole board and can whisper in their ears if he wants to. So I see Reverend Dr. Jeff Hood is here, and I want to add you, Jeff, and welcome. Oh, where'd you go? There you are.
I'm here.
Welcome, Jeff.
I was just gonna say very quickly, I don't have a ton to say, but I wanted to say that I have interacted with Kendrick on a number of uh, of occasions, visiting down there, visiting different guys, and it's interesting how in all of these cases they put the case narrative out there and they want you to think that somebody is a monster and just running around with a gun killing everybody that they can find and all this kind of stuff. He is a very meek and mild person. To be quite frank, I am much more of an asshole than he is. Um, but
Same.
but
Same.
but anyways, I just wanted to mention that I found him to be quite lovely.
Well, thank you for that, Jeff. And that's the consensus that we're hearing is that this is a genuine person who's trying to be good and is worthy of mercy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So now I know that y'all are doing work on other cases. We'd love to hear more about some of that another time because we have a
Yes,
few other
okay.
cases to talk about. And of course, we'll be in touch in any ways that we can be supportive of what you're doing. That's what we try to do is lift up voices opposed to the death penalty and where are y'all located?
Kansas City, Missouri, and she's in Illinois.
I'm from Chicago, so we kind of like come together like what you call it, like the Powerpuff Girls.
Yeah, so
Yes, well,
we're in Texas together.
we've been
We
out
just
in
visit some of
Kansas
the guys.
and we abolished the death penalty in Illinois in 2011.
You
So
know,
yes,
kudos to Illinois. Hopefully,
yes,
they
that was
force
great.
other
I
things
was
that are awful.
glad to be there when that vote came down. It was pretty powerful. So
Yeah, I believe who was it? John Wayne Gacy. That was the last person that was executed in Illinois.
I'm not positive about that, but I was actually at that execution too, if you can believe
Oh wow.
that. So I'm
Wow.
dating myself if my white hair doesn't date it for me. But
Right before the Civil War.
yeah.
I was probably like 2.
So in any case, we're great that you're from the great abolitionist state of Illinois, and then of course Missouri. We hopefully are not going to have any executions there
I
this
hope
year.
not.
Praying.
Lancers
See,
enough.
we had a few last year, but
Yeah.
Abe, I wanted to jump in really quick and
Yeah.
recognize the fact that we have one of the great saints of the abolition movement here with us, Ebony Gatsby. And I also want to state very clearly, and I know I'm embarrassing the shit out of her, but I also want to say that I have never done any work in Oklahoma on the death penalty and Ebony not be there. I mean, I think if we,
Ebony is one of the people that is often the person helping carrying our petitions and showing up every time. So Ebony, we applaud you. as well. And anything you want to add, Ebony, before we move on to Texas? You're muted.
I'm
You're
sorry,
muted.
can you
Yes.
can you repeat your
Sorry.
question?
Man,
Oh,
you gotta talk like you're accepting an award from the Academy.
Oh.
no. No. Um, thank you. Yes. Well, I want to thank Humanizing Death Row for coming and for all that y'all do. That
Thank you.
Thank you.
for all of the guys, not just in Oklahoma and the women, but everywhere elsewhere. It's all
Mm.
in it, together things. I really appreciate everything, and DPA appreciate y'all for everything.
Thank
Um, well, I guess I will add we're trying to also get some other things going, particularly with the hopefully with the MLK parade. Want to get something going for, of course, um for Kendrick, for Mr. Simpson, of course, with him being the one that is up next in Oklahoma, but for all of the Oklahoma 25, including the 13th so far, who unfortunately whom the state has taken their lives, and the rest of them, and all of those on death row. So I'd like to spotlight some more things, just to keep it in everyone's mind, this this horrific spree that has just indescribable. I can't even think of the words, just beyond destructive, and that it's continuing to be, and unnecessary. So yes, we're trying to get some other things going, and I really appreciate all the different things that we have coming up right now, and plenty of opportunity for those that are in different states and around the world to continue with what they're doing with the advocacy, with the different petitions, and writing the letters and making the phone calls to the pardon and parole board and to the governors. Um, the awesome thing about the technology and about the with the phones, that we can do that everywhere, and not just right here in Oklahoma. So, and I'm really proud of the collaborative effort amongst the different partners with DPA, and with just everyone around the country and beyond that are committed, to opposing all of these horrific, unnecessary executions.
Thank you, Ebony.
Abe, I was
Prayers
gonna say,
for prayers for this clemency hearing, and for hopefully, of course, a yes. Definitely praying for, and also with the governor's heart to be touched, as well as with the lawmakers, with the moratorium, and just different things, just prayers in that aspect. But thank you all.
Well, thank you, Ebony, for your leadership. Go ahead, Jeff.
Thank
I
you.
was just gonna
Thank you,
say,
Robin Hood.
well, man, yeah,
Definitely.
Ebony, you know I love you. I
I
love you.
love you too. Thank you for all the things you do.
No doubt. I love you forever, always. I was also going to say thank you to the folks at Humanizing Death Row, because I feel like I've seen them all over social media all the time. And I thought it might be a chat bot, because I ain't never seen nobody behind Humanizing Death Row. And
Man, no,
now,
we're real
and
people.
now I got two people who have Humanizing Death Row.
Yes,
Thank
we're the
y'all.
faces of humanizing death row. And we like to fight people in the comments that say mean things.
No, I appreciate that. There's a lot of assholes out there.
Yes, they are. It's actually disgusting.
People do need to be taken down a peg or two sometimes,
Mhm.
in a loving and nonviolent way, of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
Always the smart and educated way.
All righty. Well, this has been a wonderful conversation, and I'm sorry that we were coming together around this awful subject, but that's one of the things is you meet the best people doing this work. So we're grateful to be with you. Don't go away. I want to share now. Um, this is the Death Penalty Action webpage again, and what you've got here is, of course, the other execution that is scheduled, the first one this year. So Kendrick's actual execution date is not until in February, but because we wanted to talk about that tonight because of the hearing, the clemency board, the parole board hearing. It's on the 14th of January. But coming up here in Texas is the execution of Charles Thompson on the 28th. That is likely to be the first execution of the year, unless Georgia pops in, or maybe Governor DeSantis. God forbid. We're going to hear from Bridget in a few minutes from Florida, but this is the um, uh, the petition that we have for Charles Thompson. There's not a ton of information, although we're trying to get it. A case statement from his attorneys. Jeff, if you want to nudge Greg Gardner and Eric Allen, his attorneys, to give us their a case narrative, that'd be wonderful. But if you, but there is an article that they consider reasonably fair here in the Houston Press, which kind of gets into a lot of the stuff that's going on with this case, some of the background, Chuck's remorse, and all of that. And I'm going to stop my share, but you can find the link to that. And that then is through this article that I was able to find um, Rebecca, who prefers to just go by her first name, Rebecca. She's the person that runs that page and is essentially the front-facing um, person for uh, Charles, and who prefers to go by Chuck. And what we have is a conversation because she lives in Wales. We have a conversation that she and I had earlier today, in which she's going to spell out some of the things in this case. So, without further ado, let me just share this and make sure I got the sound on. And here we are. Alrighty. Okay, this is the Facebook page for Charles Thompson, and we're on with Rebecca, who is the manager of this page and Charles's friend. And Rebecca, welcome. Thanks for making time today.
Thank you for having me.
So let's just start with who you are and how you connected with Charles.
Yeah, so I'm Rebecca. I'm based in Wales and I connected with Charles around 8, 9 years ago through the Writer Prisoner website. I just started writing to him and became a pen pal before I eventually flew over and visited with him. And I've been visiting every year since.
Excellent. So, and when was that you started with him?
2018.
Wow. Okay. So you've got this Facebook page. I found it through the article that was in the Houston Press, and just grateful that you're willing to get on with me today. We understand, of course, it's the middle of the night when we're doing this show. So, so what would Charles want people to know about how he's doing right now, and what he's thinking, and who he is?
I think Charles just wants everyone to know that he isn't the same person he was in 1998. I think he's changed a lot. He was an alcoholic. He took drugs when he was younger, and he's just not that person anymore at all. Um, he's grown up a lot. He's had time to reflect on who he was and the life that he lived then, and he's just so different now. He's trying to stay positive, and hope and pray that he'll get a stay, which I think is all any of us can do, really. So when he writes to me, he's trying to keep positive. He's just just trying to believe that he'll get a stay on the 28th and he won't be executed.
Okay, and he is in reasonable spirits, and is he able to connect with the other people that are on Death Watch in Texas?
Yeah, so when he first moved over there, there's a gentleman who lives on there permanently. So he wasn't on his own while he was over there. And then since then, there's been another three guys who've been added to Death Watch. So at the moment, I think there's four executions, and then the gentleman who's there permanently.
Mhm.
So there's five of them over there at the moment, which I'm happy about. I didn't want him to be over there on his own, because I think that would be really hard mentally on him, and well, harder than it currently is mentally on him. But he's trying to stay positive. He always says he's a prisoner of hope, and he always tries to see the good in things and try and see the positive outcome. And that's all he's doing right now is just trying to stay as upbeat as he can. It's not always easy, naturally. He has down days and he has days where, the potential of what might happen really hits him. But overall, he is overly positive and just tries to find a good thing every day that in something that happens.
Well, that's good. That's good. That's great that he has you. How can people well, obviously, please convey to him that there's lots of people that are praying for him or otherwise keeping him in their thoughts and we're all signing the petition and we're going to deliver that to the Board of Pardons and Paroles and to the governor, and we're going to be making our phone calls when we get a little bit closer to the case. But is can people write to him? How can people send him a message?
Yeah, of course. Thank you for doing that as well. I make sure I pass that on to him and thank you for your support with him. People can either sign up for Securus and add him as a contact and they can message him that way, or they can send messages to the Facebook page and I'll pass those messages on. The big thing for us is him just knowing that he's not alone while he's going through this. People keeping him in their prayers, people signing the petition that you've mentioned, reaching out to him and messaging him. As I said, if you can't afford stamps or anything like that, please just send it to the page and I'll make sure I pass those on. But it's just him knowing that he's got support from the free world and he's not going through this alone.
That's super helpful. I know we can't get into the litigation issues. We know that there's a ruling that's expected on January 22nd from the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals. Hopefully that will stop this execution. But if it doesn't, you're planning to come over to Texas again and be present for him. Is that right?
Yep, I'll be there. I'll be flying over on the 22nd. So I'll be there for visits on the 24th, Saturday the 24th, and then the Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday visits as well, if the execution does go ahead.
Okay, well,
So I'll
hopefully
be
when
with
you
him.
land, you'll get good news and
That's what I'm hoping.
and then you can go and have a celebration, I guess. Um, all right. Well, Rebecca, thanks so much for making time for us tonight on the forecast. And is there anything else you'd like to share before we go?
No, I just want to say thank you for everything that you're doing. I know Charles will really appreciate it when I tell him. And if I could encourage anyone to reach out to him and just let him know that he isn't alone in this, then that would be amazing.
Excellent. All right. Well, Rebecca, we're really grateful. Oh, one more thing I wanted to ask. How is it that I think you might have mentioned at the beginning, but how did you first connect with Charles?
So I did a podcast called My Death Row Pen Pal on BBC Sounds. Um, After I started writing to him, the BBC asked if I would go over and meet with Charles, which I said yes to. And I just wanted to encourage people to become pen pals with people who are in, some of the worst places they can be. And just know that by writing a letter and reaching out to someone, it can mean a massive amount to them. So we did a podcast just focusing on pen pals and encouraging people who've maybe thought about it, just encouraging them to kind of go ahead and reach out.
Well, that's beautiful. Many of the people that watch that are involved with Death Penalty Action are also pen pals and friends with people facing execution in the United States and elsewhere too. Rebecca, thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Well, there we have it. And I will share that we had invited folks from the legal team, but again, I probably started that process a bit too late, and I know that they're very focused on the work. But the nutshell is that of the legal claim, as I understand it, it's kind of spelled out in that article that I shared, that's linked from the petition. Um, is there's some questions about his representation at trial and some of the arguments that were made about when the victim died, and also it's unfortunately Charles was part of an escape attempt, and that's the sort of thing that's going to get in the way of a clemency. Well, we all know how clemency goes in Texas anyway. So uh please, if you have time to write to Charles and lift him up a little bit, you're encouraged to do so. And Ali, did we put the link to the Facebook page in the chat?
Not the page, just the petition, but I can do that.
Okay, so you'll do that, or I can as well. So I do want to note that yeah, it's the wrong thing. Here we are. The Just on Friday, I learned that there was two more execution dates that we did not know about in Texas. So we now have four. Texas had two executions in all of 2025, and now there's four dates set so far. In Texas, you get a 90-day advance notice. So right now you got Charles and then Cedric Ricks on March 11th, James Broadnax on April 30th. That petition is up and running, and then Edward Busby on May 14th. So we're working on getting those other petitions together, and but there's still months out there, and the main focus, of course, are on the two cases that we spoke about tonight. Before we hear from our friends in Florida, I want to just give Ali a moment to share about what's happening this week with Luigi in the federal death penalty case that's going on for our first next hearing in New York City on Friday the 9th. Luigi Mangione is, it's a very politicized case. And actually, as Ali shared with me earlier, he's in the same prison or jail as it is as the the person who was just arrested and extradited from Venezuela. So same space. And that too, by the way, could end up being a death case because, of course, being a drug kingpin is also punishable by death under the federal death penalty. So, Ali, do you want to share a bit more about what's happening with Luigi and what we're doing around that?
Sure. There we go. We have been organizing around the Luigi Mangione case for, I don't know, probably 8 or 10 months at this point. It just started with our own petition, and then we got acquainted with a number of different groups, local in New York City, but also online that are advocating for him. So originally, this hearing on Friday was supposed to be last month. Last month, he had 3 days of a New York State hearing at the beginning of December. And this federal hearing was pushed to January 9th, so that's Friday. So folks are going to be gathering outside of the courthouse in New York City starting around 10 a.m. And like everybody comes to that issue from a different background, from a different perspective, but our focus on the Luigi Mangione case is that the federal government should not be pursuing the death penalty for him, especially when other people who have harmed a lot of people did not get the death penalty and were appropriately sentenced without the death penalty. So that is really what we're focusing on. And then I guess to a lesser extent is the fact that with the media circus going on surrounding Luigi's case, it is going to be nearly impossible for Luigi to get fair trials, whether in the state cases or in the federal cases. And so from what I'm seeing, the hearing this Friday is likely going to be concerning evidence suppression as well as his legal team challenging the death penalty. So that's what we know. If you are local to New York City or can get to New York City on Friday, we invite you to join us. I have to where like the information, but I will put it in the chat as soon as I pull it up. Um, yeah, and also I guess Jeff and I had a little bit of an announcement relating to Luigi. Jeff got pulled in kind of as well to the Luigi folks because one of the Luigi folks in Florida
Pulled. Pulled is a good word. Pulled.
one of the Luigi folks that we've been working with the longest heard that Jeff was going to be in town to speak a couple months ago, and then she got acquainted with Jeff, and here we are. But Jeff and I are working on a book about our work on the Luigi Mangione case, and my focuses in the book are going to be about how Luigi's case fits into the broader federal death penalty landscape in this country, and specifically with the current federal administration, as well as talking about the fandom surrounding the Luigi case and other things. But I just wanted to flag that and give Jeff an opportunity to just touch on that a bit.
Yeah, just very quickly, it's certainly a strange space of activism because there's so many different people coming to the table wanting to advocate. You've got some people who want to advocate because they think he's hot. You've got some people who want to advocate because they like his jawline. I mean, I could go on and on, that crowd. Then you've got other people who are all about healthcare. Then you've got other people who, I guess relate to him because he comes from a certain background that they can engage with or whatnot. The I think for me, and I think for Allie too, there is this fundamental question of the death penalty in New York. Obviously, I mean, at this point, 5, 6 decades past an execution being carried out in New York State, decades past a death penalty trial in New York. And this means that people in Manhattan, in New York City, are having to think about the death penalty in a way that they wouldn't have had to otherwise. I'm thankful that Allie and I have been given the opportunity, throughout the last couple of months to do interviews and engage. And one of the things that I have found myself really pushing back against, and I think that this is something that we have to think about from time to time. But there are a lot of people, obviously, who are trying to excuse this crime and say that the murder of this healthcare executive is a moral thing. I don't know why my computer keeps moving. Sorry. That this is a moral thing and it's justified. I think part of our work has also been to say, wait a second. If we're going to be opposed to executions and to murder, we have to be opposed to executions and murder in every different direction. So it's really given us an opportunity to respond morally in a morally difficult circumstance. And so I've been very proud of both of us when it comes to this book, the interviews that we've been doing, um, just to be able to say executions are wrong. It's wrong to kill people, and that's what we stand up for, and that's what we're standing on.
Amen.
Yeah, thank you. Like touching on that really quick, I talked to a reporter a couple days ago, and she was really trying to like get me to talk about my perspective individually, like independent from death penalty action. And I mean, of course, this is a case that I've thought a lot about as somebody who's chronically ill. This is me speaking, not DPA speaking. And so this is a case that is really like it's really complicated, and I've really complicated feelings about it because of course we don't support murder in any shape or form. But I mean, what this case is doing for the discourse in this country about healthcare, I mean, I don't think we would have been able to have such a conversation like this if it wasn't for this case. So, I mean, it's complicated, but yeah, I'm really glad of the work that we're doing and that we're still pushing back. There are a lot of people not only that are trying to push that they think Luigi is innocent, which I'm not commenting on. But then there's also people that think he should be freed because they think he's guilty. And that is something that is really difficult and that we have to be really intentional about pushing back on. I just wanted to share that.
Abe, I'll say this really quick before you jump in. This book will be, I think the plan is we're finishing it up. It's going to be out in the next couple of days, is the plan. It's a book of essays. We talk about um, this whole like cultural phenomena around Luigi. We talk about the ethics of murder, the ethics of executions. I think it's going to be a really interesting opportunity for people to explore in a lot of different ways. Last thing I'll say is that it, some people might say, well, why is he getting so much attention? The answer to that is often, in my estimation, I don't want to ask the question, why is he getting as much attention, as I want to say, when these cases start getting attention, I want us to be there. Like I want our message to be there. And I think we are doing a good job of that. And it's always a delight to partner with Allie on anything.
Ali, maybe you can share, and while you do, I want to read this comment from Nicole, but maybe you can share some of the images from our, if they're handy, from the collaboration that we've had around the prior hearings that have been in the state court most recently. And I will say that we've got Bill Dobbs and oh my gosh, I'm blanking on her name, but another death penalty action advocate that have been on the street in New York at each of these hearings, holding our signs and giving interviews, and it rarely gets picked up or covered. But Ali, can you share some of like the pictures from that truck, which I thought were pretty amazing? That we are not above paying for such advertising, but the folks that hired these trucks actually have uh, decided to include our message and honor our request that anything that with our logo on it is purely about the death penalty. But we've been able to continue to raise these issues um, around this case, and we will continue to do so. So with that, Nicole was mentioning that Luigi is Italian and has dark hair and Mediterranean features, and he looks a lot like her grandfather from Calabria, and her grandfather, who she was named after as an immigrant in a time when Italians were considered people of color. Historic racism may be at factor here. So thank you for adding that context, Nicole. And then, of course, somebody said, and he's really hot too. So there's that. Which, there's another guy that we've also, just had his trial, just got convicted, this Wade, something or other guy in Miami. And that case also has attracted people, mostly women from around the world, and they keep writing to us. And I know they're writing to Bridget at FADP. Let's add Bridget to the mix here. Welcome, Bridget, and we're glad you joined us. In any case, this guy is just attracting all this attention, and they're writing to us and saying, what about him? We got to worry about this guy. And of course, we're having to explain to them, he just got convicted. He's in no way, shape, or form at risk of being executed any time in the next decade or two. But we took the opportunity to create a petition for him, which allows people to sign up. And just as with the Luigi stuff, we're inviting those people into the movement and into activism around current executions and and education about the death penalty. So that's what we try to do, is lift all that up. So with that, we're grateful that Bridget Maloney, the communications director for Floridians for Alternatives to the Death Penalty, is here to share with us. We don't yet know who's next in Florida. Could be one of several dozen people, but luckily, through the holidays, there's been nobody on death watch in Florida. So Bridget, share with us a bit. Y'all released your annual report. Do you have access to share your screen if you want to, or else I can show some of the images too?
Yeah, would you mind, only because I've been like having a problem with the screen share for like 2 weeks. I'm not
No
sure.
problem.
Maybe Wonderful Wizard Alley might be able to do it. But it is so lovely to see all of you and just really amazing to hear all the work that's been done. I'm getting over the flu, so I've sort of been out of the loop a little bit. So just kind of hearing the amazing advocacy efforts. And yes, Wade is definitely one of the hot topics in Florida. And we definitely do get a lot of questions. I think that people sort of understand he's one of the few people who have been sentenced under the new unconstitutional but not yet ruled unconstitutional statute, and both of his death sentences are non-unanimous. So regardless, his sentence will not be final if it is a death sentence for a very, very long time. I would say probably more than decades. But I think that what we have seen over the last year is that so often we arrive too late. And I always support people getting involved early, trial level, sentencing level. I'm seeing myself in the reflection of my glasses that I never wear, and I hate that. But I really, that is something that I want to encourage, is people really starting to get involved earlier. And like Abe said, the last time I was here with you guys was December 18th, when we executed Frank Walls, our last execution of 2025. And it has definitely been really kind of a weird place to be in. Our last warrant then was November 18th. I remember where I was sitting outside of my entertainment law classroom. And that's the only quiet we've had since, and the men have had and the families have had, and DOC has had since early January of last year. What we've been doing differently sort of in this reprieve, I guess, or break, you should say, is that instead of sort of just waiting every day for what may or may not inevitably come, after Michael Zach was executed in October of 2023, he was the sixth one that year. I spent the rest of that year sort of waiting for the next one. And then it didn't come until a Tallahassee Democrat article said "not so deadly DeSantis" in June of 2024. So I'm not going to wait every single day for 9-10 months for him to decide that it's time to start up again. But we are ready and prepared for whether that be tomorrow or the next day, or the days after. And I don't even think that's something to be sad about. I think it's good to be ready, because what we've always said is that they want people to stop showing up. They want people to stop caring. They want people to stop paying attention, as much as Governor DeSantis is at this point, head of the death penalty, and his sort of reign in Florida will be known for being so deadly. It's certainly not something that he's out bragging about. So with that being said, we did spend, and I have to give a warm shout out to our executive director, Grace, who is not here, but we have come out with our first annual report. We have in the past done something similar. In 2023, we did something similar, but obviously this year was a beast for a lot of reasons. And I think that something we wanted to do with this was to also show not just that Florida is sort of a state to look at and in horror, and well, yes, but we wanted this to be a beacon of hope to other states too, to show it's bad in Florida, but it's not like that everywhere. And so much of what death penalty action does is what we also tried to kind of show in this report, which is, if there's very little that we can do, if we know we can't stop an execution, like we can document, we can show up, we can bear witness. And so what Abe is showing is exactly how we start, which is these are victims of violent crime. It's how we started. It's what Jeff said. It's how we got here in the first place. And it's worth recognizing that every single one of these people have loved ones who were tormented and traumatized. and called by the state this year whether or not they supported the execution of the person who harmed their loved one. Many did, many did not. And these are tons and tons of people who are forever changed by what we did this year. And we remember them not just in a case file, not just in terms of who the person we're advocating for killed, but because they were real people who matter. And we always want to make sure that they are treated with the dignity that the state so often does not treat them with. Something else about this report that was really important to us is that we recognize that we are in a moment of history, and in a moment of history meaning we are in the deadliest, or we were in the deadliest history in Florida's death penalty history since before we were a state. So it is incredibly important that the people who are around us, and that's every single one of you who's listening and who have been supporting us and who've grown with us this year, the tens and thousands of people who have stood with us against all odds. This is why it matters, is because people are going to look back at this moment, at that year, and they're going to wonder what happened. And they're not going to have to wonder because we were here and we documented it. And we didn't just document it, like I said, for the 19 men that we lost. We documented it for the people that they killed, for their loved ones, for people like John Cohen, whose daughter was murdered and the state forgot about him and left him. And so that they know that there are people supporting them. And something else about this report that I found to be really important, other than just kind of a scare tactic of here are how bad things are, is that and so many of you hear me say the sad stories every time about broken men from broken families and why you should care about them as individuals, or maybe even feel bad for them. And this report really shows that there are significant layers to each and every one of the cases that we saw, significant reasons, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 reasons, legitimate reasons why the execution shouldn't have gone forward. And I think that when we put that together and when we see this person, who are they? Yes, they did a horrific crime. They were also a veteran with PTSD. They also had serious intellectual disabilities. They also had a lawyer who fell asleep. They also had debilitating health issues. They also had a non-unanimous jury sentencing them to death. And it's these compounding errors over and over again in a state that gets it wrong more than any other state. Like, we have 30 death row exonerees. We've killed 19 people in 2025. We are killing people so quickly that we would never be able to legitimately litigate whether that person was guilty of the crime or not. There's no possible way. And yeah, the clemency process, I think, and this of course will be shared with lawmakers as well. The clemency process in the state is not ineffective. It doesn't work. We have a clemency board that's our governor, our attorney general, our CFO, who was the lead sponsor of all of the death penalty bills, and the CFO of agriculture. And we need 3 votes for clemency. I mean, clemency saves lives, and it can't in Florida. It also here talks about our unique lethal injection protocol, which, of no surprise to anybody, is breaking under the stress of 19 dead bodies, expired drugs. And we wrote expired drugs in here because the state of Florida in their lawsuit never said they weren't expired drugs. Public records that were found about wrong dosing and executions and expired drugs and wrong drugs were never refuted by the state of Florida. Nothing that we've put in this report or that we have told any of you has ever been refuted by the state of Florida. An execution was postponed for 2 hours earlier this year so that Governor DeSantis could go to DC for a photo opportunity with President Trump. If that weren't true, I am pretty sure that Governor DeSantis would say that. It is really kind of a relief to get this out, because I think that when we're in it all the time, we can't zoom out to see that for so many others, how wrong they know that this is. And the fact that on top of all of these executions, we're passing mandatory automatic death penalty for illegal immigrants, a law that isn't real and can't be affected. We're bragging about the death penalty for child sexual battery. It's illegal under our Constitution. No one's been sentenced to it. It's been 2 years. All they do is lie and lie and lie and lie and pass laws that they know will never actually work. And we don't have it in here, but I know that I mentioned it during Frank. Our Florida Supreme Court, we're about to have 6 out of 7 justices appointed by Ron DeSantis. I mean, this is not a normal death penalty state. This is a death penalty system that is being held hostage by an administration against the will of the people of the state of Florida. And they can continue to say all they want, that this is what the state of Florida wants. It's written into our Constitution. Yes, that's true, as it was written decades and decades ago. But there's nobody calling legislators, asking them to kill more people or to make more things death eligible, because there are so many people on our row. They will never be able to please the proponents of the death penalty because they aren't killing them fast enough. They're waiting too long. It's always going to be more. People who support the death penalty are always going to want it to be more. And it is our job to show them that it isn't working for what it is supposed to work for. It is a lie, all of it. And I also want to say that it was really nice in this report for one of the first times all year to sort of show this power that we have built and what Death Penalty Action has helped us build and what all of our partners have helped us build, whether they're faith leaders or veterans. So many new people this year. I mean, I think about Anthony and Jeff being in Florida and the impact that happened there, and Suzanne. And, you know, it is so hard to think back on last year in only negative ways because of the amazing things that happened. Later in the report, it talks about, I mean, I think over 50,000 petition signatures, and I know thousands and thousands and thousands of messages to legislators. You know, these are things that we can bring to an incoming governor. These are things that we can bring to legislators. These are things to say, hey, this happened, you weren't in charge, we get that, but this is how we're going to move forward. And if not, we're just going to keep documenting and we're going to keep fighting. I mean, you think that TCADP, these people who have been here 19 times this year and since Abe, how long? Decades, that they're going to just stop showing up because DeSantis is going to kill, what, 25 people? It's not going to happen. And so I hope that this can be, you know, a reckoning to the administration to know that not only are we not going anywhere, we're getting stronger, we're getting louder, we're getting way smarter, we're getting more creative. Again, Grace is also helping with the graphics, so those are getting better too. We're getting in better media, we're getting in better spaces, we're connecting with more people, and we're not going to stop. And so I really, really hope, you know, that 2026 is not like 2025. Those are all 4 of our executive directors in the history of FADP. I mean, it is one of the joys of my life to do this work. And this sounds crazy, but I think that all of you would probably agree. And in the darkest moments, we've made it through. And so, like I said, and then I'll stop yapping because I have my flu medicine on, so I'm all yippity yap. But I'm really hopeful that this year is not as deadly. I don't have a lot of hope that it's not, but I do feel a lot differently than I did last January, where I felt a little shell-shocked and unprepared and didn't know what we were going to do and who were we going to call, and it sounds like Ghostbusters. Now I feel ready, and I feel like any moment where we don't have to grieve and beg for this administration to stop is a lucky moment. But I also know that if that moment comes, and if it comes tomorrow, that we'll be ready, and we're not going to stop. And I know that all of you know that, because I've said it, bi-monthly for the last year or so, and then many of you since 2023. So that's our looking forward, is that we're just so thankful for your trust in us, for your listening to us. My babbling all the time. I know sometimes more funny than other times, and sometimes more angry than other times. I promise those won't go away. Even if when the executions all go away, I promise to still always continue showing up. So thank you for giving me the time and space, and I'm smiling because I feel just not hopeful that we're going to end the death penalty this year, not hopeful that no one's going to die, just sort of hopeful generally. And just really glad to see all of you, because I love you guys and I love this community. And DeSantis does need to go away, and he will go away, but unfortunately, it's not just him. It would be very easy to just sort of blame all of it on him, and there's a lot of blame to put there for sure. But as Abe knows from the Rick Scott era and eras before, they haven't been as deadly, but they certainly haven't been easy. So we have to get rid of it no matter who is there. Just hopefully the next person maybe wants to slow down a little bit so we can have a little conversation.
Well, that's just an incredible report, and very impressive what y'all have created. And so I applaud you in that, and I applaud you managing to keep going in your recovery, as I can hear it in your voice, how so hopefully you don't have too much of a recovery needed just from being present with us tonight.
No, I'm very, very glad. Yeah, no, this is good. It feels good to be sort of back with you guys, and I won't say knock on wood, but yeah, it's nice to be with you all in a space where I hate that we're focusing on other states and people who are set to die and other ones.
Let's see. Beth is asking that we acknowledge Loran Cole as well in August 2024.
Yes, Beth, thank you. I know I kind of said that a bit. I said that a bit flippantly. When Loran Cole was the sole person executed in 2024 after the administration became quite angry at a newspaper article that I know Abe also remembers well. And Loran Cole was a survivor of the Dozier School. We executed 2 other survivors of the Dozier School this year. And that, something Grace and I talked about with this report, if you all haven't had the opportunity to look into the Dozier School and the cover up there and what advocates did to make sure that those men were remembered, that really is kind of what we aim to do here too, is to make sure that this is not something the state can bury, and to also, sort of warn other states that you don't want to be this state.
Wow. Allie, did you have something to add?
Yeah, no, I just was going to acknowledge Beth's comment. And I was just going to say, we're not forgetting Loran Cole, but this was a focus on 2025 and just how unprecedented 2025 was. And that's not us forgetting him. It's just that 2025 was different for a lot of reasons. So I just wanted to touch on that.
Yes, Beth, Beth knows that too, but I should say that too, because, and obviously at the end of DeSantis's administration, we will have to have a larger report that includes the other 6 that we executed in 2023, who are all also very dear to my heart. And oftentimes when we talk about this year, I feel like we're doing a disservice not talking about them, but it's a lot to talk about. So, and Grace is right there too from 2019 as well. So yeah, there are a lot of people though. So thank you. We're always glad to be reminded, and especially because 2024 feels like a complete, 17 million years ago from now.
Well, it has been, let's see, what time is it? It's already 10:15, 10:16, 10:16 Eastern time. So we're grateful that so many people have continued to stick with us through this programming. Before we go, I do want to share, oh, there's another question here. First of 20, yes, thank you, Beth. Uh, the question is, what do we do? And the answer is we have to keep showing up. We have to find ways to lift our voices even louder in all of these cases. I want to give a shout out especially to the ACLU of Oklahoma, which, when Oklahoma resumed executions after the moratorium that was there for a few years, I think it was 2021. There were 7 people that got execution dates who were not party to the lethal injection lawsuit, so they were able to go ahead and start executing folks like that. Julius Jones was among those 7 that got dates, and at that point, it was really, really hard to see any action around any cases that were not so-called emblematic. It was death penalty action lifting up every single one. The Oklahoma Coalition does what they do, but it was making sure that we got into the streets. That and the good news is that it would seem that the ACLU of Oklahoma is now filling that gap to make sure that there's activism and leadership that engages people in each of these cases. At least we've seen it with Tremaine Wood, and we're seeing it now with Kendrick, and hopefully that will continue. I want to just say that there's also others are coming into the movement and taking on pieces of this work, and that is so vital, and we have to lift it up every time we see it. So it's grateful to have our friends here from Humanizing Death Row and other folks that are doing whatever they can, whatever is possible to fill the gaps that exist in the movement. And if the gaps aren't there, then stand up and be a part of it and make the crowd bigger. One of the things that Death Penalty Action is going to be doing this year is trying to put a bigger emphasis on the For Whom the Bells Toll campaign, another way for individuals to engage and to engage through our faith communities. Let me just share, and Ali, maybe you can put the link to the For Whom the Bells Toll campaign in. It is forwhomthebellstoll.org. I'll just share this little video. Here's just a minute.
Right now, several states across the country are in a mad rush to execute people on death row. With so many lives at stake, communities of faith are standing up in opposition to this continuation of the cycle of violence. There are 3 simple ways communities of faith can help. First, add a special time of prayer during your services prior to a scheduled execution. We ask that you pray for the victim's family, the offender and their family, legal teams, court officials, executioners, and others impacted. Second, toll a bell for 2 minutes on the day of an execution. If you don't have a bell, display a banner or sign showing your opposition to the death penalty. Third, go to our website, forwhomthebellstoll.org, to learn more about our movement. Order an action kit unique to your state and register your participation. We must act now because time is running out for so many men and women on death row. Together, we can abolish the death penalty.
And I want to share that I just got a box of 1,000 buttons like this. And I'm happy to send them to anybody that will actually use them. And you can just register on that For Whom the Bells Toll page, and that's one of the places where you can indicate, send me some buttons, and we'll be happy to do that. We're always happy to have donations to help cover the costs of that, but that's not the vital thing. What's important is that we get people actually using the fact of these executions to engage others in opposing them, or at least in coming to understand why they're problematic. There's much more that could be said. We're just, frankly, I have to say, grateful. I personally have taken a lot of time not doing any work these last couple of weeks, and it's going to be I'm looking forward and not looking forward to getting back to it. Just like everybody that's got kids going to school tomorrow, you get to drag them out of the house tomorrow. But we have to get back to work, And the good news is that unless something changes, we don't have an execution in the United States until the end of January. Hopefully that won't shift, and hopefully it won't be as bad a year as it was last year. But we're ready for whatever comes because of you and because we get to work with all of you. So with that, I want to give everybody that's on the panel here a final moment to offer any final thoughts before we go. And otherwise, we'll close it out with, I think we're going to share the video with Roderick Reed. Is that it? Since Texas is ramping it back up. Good news is that Rodney Reed still does not have an execution date and still has litigation pending as far as I know. But anyway, Jeff or Ali or Ebony or Humanizing Death Row, Remy, is that your name? And
Yes.
Yes,
Remy.
Remy and BB.
Baby, that's right. I wrote that down. Thank you. We're so grateful that you're a part of this. We'll hopefully see you again in Ebony as well.
Yes, invite us. We're fun at parties.
All right, Ali, hit it, and thank you all for being with us.
You know, I had other big brothers, but Rodney was the one that doted over me. He's the one that helped me, you know, tie my shoes. He's the one that, you know, looked out for me when I first started school. My dad had this made about 20 years ago. They covered up evidence, they suppressed stuff, they violated a whole bunch of his rights. There's a lot of prosecutorial misconduct in this case. There was tampering with evidence. There was a whole bunch of stuff. Those guys helped stage that murder and everything else, and they set Rodney up, never anticipating on the fact that, number one, that the family was not going for it. We wasn't going to lay down. My mother said on the courthouse steps, y'all may try to take my son's life, but I promise you, the whole world will know about it. It's been, I don't even know how to even say it, man, because I can't even say it's been because I'm still living it, you know. It's been in so many different marches and rallies, and I remember when we first put it up, a lot of people thought we was, I don't know, kind of crazy for, you know, putting that up, thinking that we was asking for trouble, you know, but no, we was telling the truth. We was making a statement. I went down February 14th, and we had a good visit. And we go once a month, you know, my mom and I. You behind glass, you don't get to touch him, you don't get to be and have no contact whatsoever. There he is right there, that's Rodney. I'm right up under him, you know, we did everything together and slept in the same bed together, you know, coming up as kids. We both slept in a twin, you know. You know, we got the Innocence flags flying. He got grandkids he's never held. He hasn't touched his kids and nothing, you know what I mean? His kids done grew up from babies, now they got kids of their own and stuff that he should be here for. To live this life and to do what we are a family are doing takes a lot of dedication, a lot of sacrifice, and a lot of love to do this.
We're standing out here outside of the walls to protest this murder.
To take another life, all that's doing is causing more pain. All that's doing is hurting other people. More pain and more hurt. How's that gonna help? How's that gonna heal? the statistics. There's more black people that put to death than any other. They found another way to enslave us, you know. Wrongfully conviction, you get them down there, you work them. You're gonna make money off them people. Then you're gonna get paid to house them. You know what I mean? It's all a racket. If you don't do something positive with the pain and the anger and everything that's in you, you know what I mean? Because you know what they're trying to do to your family, it can mess you up. So this is a way for me to release, to not only help others, but help myself at the same time. You know what I mean? A lot of people don't have family members out there fighting for them, don't have, you know, people standing up for them. That's what we try to do. We try to be the voice for the voices. I'm not just fighting for him, I'm fighting for everybody that's on death row now, you know, trying to be that beacon, that horn. You know, I'm trying, you know what I mean? That's all I can do is try.